What are riven cut tesserae? These are cubes of marble that have been cut to show the inside rough face of the stone. The base can be flat, machine surface, or it can be riven too, depending on how you cut it to get it. How's it produced? First method is using the hammer and hardy, the standard cutting tool for a lot of mosaicists who work with marble. And say in this method, getting cubes and then just cutting them in half is the easiest. There is the other way where you have a long rod and a rod of marble and you keep cutting it so you have two riven surfaces. So the first method where we're just cutting a cube in half, you can see as that's cut in half, you get two tesserae, then roughly half the thickness of the original, with a machine flat base, but the riven surface on top. Or, as I say, if you are cutting a long rod, then you will get a riven surface top and bottom. Another way to produce it is if you're using a chopping machine, which is a bigger version of a hammer and hardy. Works on the same principle. Not many people have these. Are very expensive and very heavy to move around. But the advantage with these, as you see in the photograph, you can actually get long rods dependent on the stone, the marble you're cutting. What's the good about it? Well, by using a riven surface, you're looking at what we term the true color of the marble. This surface does not usually need any color enhance or any waxes, as you might with a flat marble surface. Also, the texture of the surface is very different because it's broken open. It does look better in terms of if you're doing these mosaics, more of the decorative pieces rather than the floors, ones that are more artistic and you might be putting up onto a wall. This is another example. This is using the smaller tesserae, but the whole surface here is cut, so it has that advantage of not just the slightly different shading in the colors, but also the different texture. What's not so good about it? Well, it's not easy to produce. You need a hammer and hardy or we've seen the larger chopping machine, and you can use nippers, but this would be very hard on the wrists and not really practical, I find, for cutting large amounts. Now, as you can see, the problem that you have is not all the stone will cut exactly flat, exactly straight. So if you look at the images of the four tesserae on the left, you can see the height varies there. And in the head-on picture of the nippers there, I've got a pair of nippers with one of the tesserae in. I've added a piece of white paper at the back for contrast, but you can see that the blades stop at the top, at the thicker part of the tesserae, and that means they are quite difficult to cut. So you will get more waste. Another one is on the right-hand side, you can see the drawing of the tesserae that have been cut into half, where you have a machine cut surface on the bottom, where you just need a little bit of glue and that will stick down onto the board. If you have the riven surface, top and bottom, then you need a thicker bed, so you need something like cement layer to actually set that in to be able to get it to sit in there to be able to sit relatively straight. Another problem is grouting. You generally don't tend to grout these ones, so the tesserae are put closer together, which is more cutting. As I say, this is more of a decorative one. But grouting, it's not usually done because the rough surface that you have means you can't clean the excess grout away with a sponge in the same way as the smoother machine cut surfaces as you would have on a floor. One way you can do is when the mosaic is completely dry, sprinkle grout powder onto the surface, brush it off the tops of the mosaic, and then use one of these plant sprays that gives you a very fine mist. Spray that across the top of the mosaic. That soaks into any of the areas with the grout powder and to set. But that's really sort of a cosmetic thing, and you still end up with some of the grout on the top surface of the mosaic. As you can see here, it's quite a dusty appearance. So, in conclusion, ribbon cut tesserae, they're difficult to get, difficult to cut, but they're perfectly perfect for these more artistic mosaics and getting you really working with the stone. Thanks very much for watching. If you'd like to see more, then hit the subscribe button. And if you've got any questions, then please put them in the comments for me.